Welcome back to Faith and Fire, where we have open and authentic conversations about how faith impacts our everyday lives. Today, we are talking about how faith impacts our finances. So with me today, I have two wonderful guests. I have Joi Whitley. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, girl. And I've got Sheriee. And I'm going to let them tell you all about their experience with faith. So let's kick off with that. I want to get to know our guests. Joi, I know we've met you before, but for those who haven't seen you in an episode before, can you tell us a little bit about what is your connection with faith?
Yes, well, my connection definitely starts at the root. Born and raised and grew up spiritually fed, but my business is how I got here, Anointed Hands Tax II, Inc. There's a lot of faith even in the name and being anointed. And I live by that, and I say I die by that. But I'd say even just starting that business, there's a faith story behind it. Mm-hmm. But it starts at the root. I'd say my faith goes back to just being born, growing up Church of God in Christ and learning strict rules and strict ways of how to dominate the world by having like a strong belief in faith,
I'd say. That Kojic world.
Yes. Church of God in Christ. That's it.
I love it. Okay, Sheriee, tell us a little bit about your faith.
Well, I think I've been in the church since I was born, pre-birth. Honestly, I grew up in the Baptist church, a small little church. I'm from Tucson, so a small little church in Tucson. And it was just, I'm a bona fide Jesus freak. So yeah, Jesus is the center of everything. I could say God, but I feel like that is just so, people take it to be so like universal and la la land. It's like, no, I'm a Jesus freak. Like Jesus is the center of everything that I do, my business. Even though I'm in production in the tech world, faith is just, it has been my journey. This is a faith journey, 100%. God led. God told me to do this. I am totally being led by God in this. So yeah, faith is everything in my journey right now.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. The way you said Jesus freak, I was like, I'm here for the Jesus freak. I want to get on that level with my faith.
It was like 1980s, 90s, whatever. I'm dating myself now, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your business, because we are going to talk about, our businesses and stuff. Let's give the listeners a little context. What is your business?
Okay. Well, I have a couple of businesses and they kind of work hand in hand. I have a production company called Remix Productions, which I started in 2012, officially 2016 when I incorporated. And I write and produce originally web series and short films. And now I'm working on producing my very first television show, 1 hour drama. And then I also have a tech startup, which is a streaming platform called StrmShp. It is a streaming platform for shoppable shows. So you see a shirt you're watching a show and you're like, oh, that shirt is cute. You click on that shirt, add it to your cart. And then when the show's over, you check out. So StrmShp. So they kind of work hand in hand, or they do work hand in hand, the two companies. And so, yeah, that's the short story of it.
I love it. So someone could be like, Waymaker, Miracle Worker, I need that shirt. And they could just click on it.
Yep. And buy it right then and there.
Oh my goodness. I love that. That's totally vibes with how I like to shop, which is all the time. At all times.
Impulsive.
Yes. You know my soul.
Yes, you are my target audience.
You 100%, girl. Awesome. So Joi, for those who didn't learn about you in our Faith and Business episode, by the way, if you haven't seen our Faith and Business episode, I'm going to link it here. Definitely check it out. And you get to hear so much more about what it takes to start a business and grow a business. So that's definitely one to see. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your business.
So Anointed Hands Tax II, Inc., just like Sheriee, is it Sheriee?
Sheriee.
Sheriee. My business was started in 2012. So originally incorporated in the state of Arizona. And I officially started doing business, working on personal tax returns at that time. We stepped up our game just like Sheriee. Sheriee in 2016, and officially began doing business tax returns in 2017 after getting more extensive training. And so now where we are today, I'm a small business accountant is what I like to say, because we target small businesses, and we strive on just educating, taking that time to educate clients about taxes, and just putting that anointed touch on the personal and the business tax world is what we do.
I love it. So one of the reasons I really wanted to start out with us talking about our businesses, because as we look at our finances, as I think about my financial goals, I really think about the business being a place where I really express those goals, right? A way that I achieve those goals. So I wanted to start out with that foundation of like, what are we up to in life? And then talk about how that shows up in our finances. Like when we're trying to make it big in business, when we're trying to make it big in the world, I'm trying to create generational wealth, y'all.
Girl.
Yes. So like, how does my faith help me get there? And how does my faith play into that? That's what I want to understand.
I'll say risk. So you have to be a risk taker. Growth, elevation, it requires risk. And just starting a business, running a business, it's going to require a lot of faith and a lot of risk taking. But the only way that you'll be comfortable taking some of those risks, maybe deciding at times, not to pay my rent, but go pay my office rent instead, making some of those harder decisions, is if you have a strong faith and trust in God, and trust that He's leading you, and you're not just making decisions impulsively. I'll say. So once you have that foundation of trust and faith in God, that is your way. That is your way to a successful life, because there's ups and downs and there's highs and lows in any business. Even when you're doing well, there's always a punch. But that faith, it shows up during those times, and just you have to believe in yourself, but I can't even speak on I know we're talking about faith and finances, but everything that I do, it truly starts with my faith. And all of the decisions that I'm making for my business. I'm really doing it with Jesus in mind. I'm doing it with a Christ-like mindset.
Yeah. So I really hear you saying, you really have to turn up that discernment meter with your finances, which is one thing I'm going to need a little help with. Like maybe we don't click on all the links to buy the t-shirts. Maybe we stop and think a little bit. Just because the t-shirt is $5 on that one website we're not going to name that we all shop from, doesn't mean you have to buy 24 of them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So discernment is that first thing I can take from this is when it comes to faith and finances, pray to God for discernment in my finances so that I am choosing to pay that rent money instead of, little known fact about me, I pay my mortgage before Black Friday. I pay all of my bills.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to be deceived into thinking just because it's in my account, it's available for Black Friday spending.
Girl, that's good. I will have to say, I'm so sorry. I will have to say that faith plays a big part in finances for me because my production company I was working, I recently moved, I'm from Arizona, but I recently relocated back to Arizona from Los Angeles. I was in LA for 14 years, right? And I went out there originally to pursue acting. A long story short, had to grow up and get a real job, right? So, I was working my 9 to 5 and doing my production on the side. And it wasn't until 2019 that the Lord told me to quit my job to pursue StrmShp full time. I had just launched it, not even officially. I hadn't officially incorporated yet, but it was an idea in the mix. And the Lord was like, you have to quit. He gave me the date exactly. He said, March 15th is your last day. No matter what, you have to quit. And mind you, this is right before they're about to do bonuses, annual bonuses. And I was up for a promotion. I was making almost 6 figures. I was making really good money. And I gave my notice, and of course they tried to convince me to stay, all of that good stuff. And the Lord was like, no, he already told me, he was like, they're going to try and convince you to stay. No, March 15th, 2019 is your absolute last day. Wow. I had no savings. Because all of my money goes right back into my businesses, period.
Yeah.
As soon as I get it, like I don't have a crazy shopping habit or anything like that. And so I was like, okay, no 401k, no savings, no anything. I'm like, okay, Lord. He was like, trust me in this. This is a promotion, not a demotion. I was like, okay. So I quit. I gave my notice and I asked for my bonus. Okay. And they gave it to me.
Praise Him.
Yes. I gave them actually 3 weeks notice. And my last check, I got my bonus. It wasn't the full amount that I probably would have gotten, but it was a good little chunk.
Yeah.
Right. And so through that was 2019. I had a few family friend investors that got me going. And I had so much. Then COVID came, the pandemic, and California had lots of money to give to business owners and entertainment. So I had more than enough. I actually had more than I was making at my 9-to-5 for a good, a solid year. Yeah. And so the Lord, He just came through. But again, all of my money just goes right back into my businesses. And then I'm one of those who will it's really sad to say, but I am one of those who will forfeit paying my rent to make sure that, my babies, that's what I call my businesses, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that my babies eat. And so really every single dollar that I get goes into my businesses. But again, it's a faith journey. Like you said, I'm taking a risk, right? I've sacrificed. I always say short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal, right? And so there's a lot of sacrifices that I've made traveling and doing all those things, the Black Friday sales, right? But I'm trusting God in this process and saying, okay, Lord, I know that you'll make it up to me. Everything that I'm missing out on now, I'm trusting you in this process. You told me to do this. I'm trusting you in this. And at the same time, I'm still looking for finances, right? For my tech startup, I want to move into development phases, or am now starting to move into development phases, but still looking for financing. And so that's been truly the hardest part of this whole journey, and where my faith has really kicked in the most, because it's okay, Lord, you told me to do this. It's taking a long time, and I need the money, and I got bills.
We call that the mortgage motivation.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I absolutely love in what you said, we were talking before we got started about prayer life and how you have a strong prayer life, and how that's my goal in life is to amp up my prayer life. And I feel like this is even more motivation for me to get on that, because you got a date. I'm usually gonna go in this general direction and just keep going until you hear from me again. And so I'm really okay, that's my goal.
No, girl, it's not always like that.
Okay. I feel better.
Don't get it twisted. I knew March 15th and I had confirmation on that, but right now I'm like you. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm stepping and I'm moving, but what's next?
Yeah.
So it's not always just crystal clear like that. Don't get it twisted.
I was like, oh, that's what prayer life can do for me. Let me pray right now.
No, I wish it was that crystal clear every time.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So it's interesting when we talk about faith and finances. I think there's a few terms that I hear thrown out a lot. One, you hear about tithing. I hear about tithing every Sunday, because they make sure to remind us to go ahead and put those tithes in the tithe box. And so I want to start with that one, and then kind of move on from there. And it's okay, let's talk about tithing. Joi, I know that you've talked a lot about tithing, and I feel like you hear both sides, right? So in some ways, some people feel like tithing is really about the recipient, right? They're like, oh, the church just wants money. I think we had a guest on the PK Council, we were recording, and they said the storehouse isn't storehousing like it used to. Well, if you can't say amen, say ouch. But when you really dig into the Bible, I feel like tithing is really more about the giver than it is the receiver. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. And I was sitting over here just thinking about how similar, because even last time I was here, I was listening to Chef Asia speak, and just listening to her story, and we had the same story. And now today, we have the same story. But I can't talk about finances without talking about tithing because it's a part of my financial journey. Like I said, I grew up in church. So I grew up, knowing Malachi 3:8, will a man rob God? I knew these things. These things were deeply rooted in me, but I didn't practice them. As a young adult, going to church, kind of being a college student, becoming adulting, I'll say, I was going to church. I would pay tithe here and there, maybe pay offering. I would miss, 5 Sundays, don't pay anything. So my consistency with paying my tithe was really tied into my consistency with going to church. And I wasn't going that often. But 2019 was my make or break year also, because 2019, I remember starting that year with the idea in mind that I was going to be closer to God and I was going to be more intimate with him. And a part of that intimate connection was me making a decision not to miss a tithe payment. So, and what happened that year, I tell folks, is I learned about Givelify. So when I learned about Givelify, my tithing was not, it wasn't attached to me going to church, because now I had a way to tithe without going to church. So I developed the form of consistency where as soon as the direct deposit would hit, right off the top, I'm taking my 10% before anything else gets done. And it is about the giver. I would say it's not about who you're giving to, because my increase in my finances and my overall success, I can honestly say it was tied into that form of consistency that I built. That form of consistency helped develop my form of intimacy, I'll say, with God. So it became, once something becomes a habit and you get into it. So every payday waking up and paying, that's my commitment to God. So I think once I showed God through my finances that I trusted him and I was committed, didn't always have it to pay all my bills, even paying my tithe, taking the 10%, I was already in the negatives, but just putting that trust in him. 2019 with my job as well. This was always a side hustle for me, but went through a separation, which led to me quitting my job, no plan, no savings. It wasn't even tax season. When I decided. So my big money side hustle season was over and done. But I trusted God. I didn't have a clear date, but I had told myself, you know what, if I don't have a new job or something that's better fitting for my new situation of me being a single parent by the time school starts, I'm quitting this job. And that's exactly what I did. No plan. But my tithing was there. My faith was there. Yeah. And as I quit that job, Jesus, I can't even tell you the blessings that God, just little jobs, teaching here, just little things came my way, and I continued tithing. So tithing is always going to be a part of Joi and Anointed Hands Tax success story when we talk about our finances, and we're still there. The commitment is still there on Givelify, and you see it in our growth. I tell people the proof is in the pudding. When you look at our financial growth, go look at the Givelify app, and that's how you track it. You track our growth by our commitment and our intimacy. As we've grown, we've gotten closer and more intimate with God each and every year, and our finances have increased each and every year and still increasing by the grace of God.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So your consistency led to a greater intimacy with God.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That is okay. That's that's a little nugget I'm gonna just tuck away in my brain. What's your experience been with tithing?
Tithing, in my adult life, I'll say for sure the last 10 years, I tithe everything. I don't care if it's birthday money, I tithe. And it goes back like a seed that was planted when I was a little girl, way back in that small little Baptist church. And I just remember the pastor saying, it's the one place in the Bible where the Lord actually says, like, test me in this. That's the one place you
said, try me.
Yes, right. This is the one place that you can test me. And it was like, I did it one time. I was like, okay, Lord, you said this is the one time that I can test you. And even when it came down to like, do I pay my rent? I'm not going to have enough to pay my rent if I pay my tithes. It's like, okay, Lord, you said test me in this. And so even when I make those kind of sacrifices, he always comes through, and he always... I cannot even tell you how God has provided in the last, like, not even just the last 4 years since I quit my job, even before that, because LA is really expensive. Even though I was making good money, it was going as soon as it came, right? So, but I would find checks in the mail, just random deposits. Hey, girl, I sent you some money, like, just random. The Lord has just provided so many crazy ways. So I've found 3 months in a row, I found $100 bill on the floor. And I know that was the Lord. Like, that was right before I quit my job, and that was him just showing me. I know that was him just showing me, like, I got you.
Where were you walking?
Girl. Oh, right. One was in my apartment complex. One was in somebody else's apartment complex. One was in the grocery store parking lot.
Okay, I'm gonna need an address.
Yeah, right. People just losing their money, right? But yeah, so when it comes to tithe, and even like, I haven't had abundance and everything, but I've had provision. Even if it didn't come back to me in the sense of like, okay, I sacrificed and gave this time. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had food to eat. I've always had, right? And especially in LA, it wasn't until I got to Arizona about a year ago where my finances have all of a sudden gotten tight. And I'm like, okay, Lord, but I'm a tither. And I know that I'm a tither, so you will, right? And I don't tithe because, like, I tithe from as I've grown in intimacy, right, with the Lord. My tithing is out of obedience.
Ooh.
Because that's what he said to do, right? It's his. And I'm supposed to give off the top my 10%. That's what he told me to do. So for me, it's about obedience. And so that's why I give. I don't care. The church ain't, what'd you say, storehouse. And like
it used to.
Yeah. You know what you do with my tithe, that's between you and God.
Yep.
You ain't doing right, that's on you. But I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do.
That's
right?
so powerful, because I think oftentimes that's what people get fixated in. Well, how's it going to be used? I don't like this ministry. I don't da-da-da-da-da. And that's where we get stuck, right? And that stuckness doesn't keep anybody else down except for ourselves. We tie ourselves, bind ourselves, and block our own blessings in that way.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Because, that's between you and God. Like, you're not using the Lord's money properly. That's like a whole other level of like, people are trusting you. But don't get it twisted. I am very particular about the seed, where I put my seed, right? And, my church, obviously that I believe in, that I'm going to, whatever, I make sure. And then push pay is how I give, right? So push pay, my church in LA, they use push pay. And then my current church, which I go to Elevation, which is, everybody knows Elevation is in North Carolina, but they're online. So I give through PushPay. It's through an app as well, or just online. I give online. So that makes a difference. So as soon as I get it, like, I tithe. If it's in my account, it's gone. Like, and I don't do the direct deposit, because I was tempted when I was still working to just do direct deposit. I was like, no, it needs to be an act. This is not just an automatic, I don't see it. Because a lot of people like to do that, right? They're like, I don't see it, so I don't miss it. No.
You want to miss it. Like,
it's not even that I want to miss it, but I need the act of it. Like,
it's like an act of commitment, almost. Like, I'm committed. That obedience, like you say, I look forward to, like, that giving. I look forward to giving it up. I look forward to that moment with me and God. When I give it up to him, when I hit the button on Givelify, I'm already talking to God in my head. So it's that intimate moment.
Yeah. And let me tell you too, I also, on that note, if it's one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to give. Oh, I don't got it. Oh, it's like, I will not give until it's like, I always give the analogy, like, remember when you were little and your mom was like, fix your face.
Yeah.
Fix your face. Like, fix your face, Sheriee. Fix your face before you give this money. Get your spirit together. Where's your heart posture when you're giving? right? Don't give grudgingly or with an attitude or here you go, Jesus, or I don't really have. No, it's thank you, Jesus. I'm so grateful for the provision. Like it's a praise, right? It's a worship.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me to come and be like, I don't really want to give it, but here you go. Like, I get it. Sometimes it's hard. So that's your heart posture. Like, oh Lord, this is really hard. I'm gonna give it. Like, that's a whole different thing. But when it's like,
yeah,
here,
I hear the difference as you say it, like throwing your change in the basket, like, well, because I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, fix your face, get it together. If I got to wait a day or 2 or 3, then I give. But I have to make sure that my heart posture is in the right place when I give.
Yeah.
Right?
Fix your face and pay your tithes.
Right. Right.
I love it. So as we talk about tithing, it really just spins into the conversation of generosity for me. And I hear lots about like generosity and how it creates generational wealth. And I can't help but assume in my head that there's some tie to faith in that. And I'm hearing it show up a little bit in this conversation around tithing is like, there's that spirit of generosity with what God has blessed you with and giving it back and letting go of it, not having it pried from your dead hands. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so, I mean, how do we see, I see your faces light up as I say generosity. How do you see generosity playing into faith and finances?
I'd say for me, you have to give, and you have to have a spirit of I have more than enough. Mm-hmm. Because there were times where I was in that spirit of I'm broke, I'm poor, I ain't got enough, I'm struggling. And every time I gave or would give to others in that spirit, I would stay there. Like, I feel like God would teach me a lesson about not trusting him, like even feeling like you don't have enough or I am not enough is how I kind of took it from God. So once I got over that and began to move with a spirit and move with a heart of I got more than enough. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm in the negatives, I got more than enough. So I started living by that, I'd say. And it changes you. It changes you. It changes your walk and your faith with God. And once you change that mindset, man, God just, he shows up and he just shows out in so many ways. And even in my prayer, because I would pray to God in my times where I was like struggling and just didn't, and like, Lord, increase my tithe. Like I stopped asking God for more money. I began to learn, like, don't ask him for more money. You ask him, now that I got my commitment together with the tithing, ask him to increase my tithe, because more money in turn will allow me to give more, and my commitment will be stronger with him. And then too, that was just another level. Every time I pray, he takes me on a different level, because I begin to realize and praying to increase my tithe, don't always expect it to be financial. Sometimes those prayers will lead to more work and more clients. So he's going to do exactly what you ask of him. But don't think that it'll always come in a financial form. So there would be times I was like struggling, and I would get like 3 new clients in a week. And that would be my confirmation from God. Like, nope, I was expecting you to just drop a load in the account, but you're giving me the work. You're showing me that faith without work is dead. You know, that message is so strong for me. So, yeah. Yeah,
because he's not just dropping the money in the account. He's giving you clients that will drop the money, drop the money, drop the money. By the way, I think I need to pay that invoice. She's my accountant, too.
But that's God, though. Yeah. You know, he shows up. He shows up for me. So, man, that faith walk. Yeah. Faith walk. That's the next t-shirt right here. That and faith walk.
It never looks like what you thought it was going to look like, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I thought the Lord told me to move here. Listen, I had no plans on moving back to Arizona. I'm born and raised here. I know it's hot. Like, I have turned into a beach bum. I love LA, just the hustle and bustle. Like, I love it. And so when I moved back here, I was like, okay, it's time. It's go time. Oh, we entering the promised land now. And I was like, yeah, everything's going to move and I'm going to have an abundance of it. And like, no. It's It's not been that at all. Like, I'm like, okay, like I feel like in LA, I had manna, right? That was a season of wilderness. And I still feel like I'm in the season of wilderness, but I'm not. But it was like, I had manna. He provided money. Like I had like monetary, right? Financially. And now I feel like, okay, I'm in the promised land. And the Lord was like, you're in the promised land. Now you have to work for it, girl. You got to work for it. Like you have to work to dispossess those, right? Those inhabitants in Canaan, right? Like you have to work. And so now it's like my pockets is slim.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm finding other ways, like if I don't have finances, the finance, monetary coming in to give in my serving, right?
Yeah.
Generosity, right? So serving, outreach, how else can I tithe? How else can I show up for you and be generous? And yeah. And generosity, you know, I read The Blessed Life, so I know generosity. I don't know if you've read The Blessed Life, but yeah, generosity, it's about, you know, just how you can't outgive God.
Yeah.
You just can't. Right. And so that's really what that book is about. It just talks about how, that is basically it, to sum it up in the, you can't outgive God. So, you know, and also we had said earlier, discerning. So I'm one of those who will give to a person on the street corner, but it's discerning, like, Lord, is this what you want me to do? And sometimes it's $2, sometimes it's $50, sometimes it's $100. It's whatever he prompts me to give. Or I'm, you know, giving my clothes. Like, you know, I am very generous because like you said, like, I know that my pockets might be slim. My bank account might be negative. My car might be repossessed. I might be living at my mama's house, like all of the above, right? But I have more than enough.
Yes.
I have more than enough because I have him, right?
Yeah.
And so in that, like, he's even showed up in that, like, when I want to do something like with my girlfriends or something, right, girls' night or whatever, I'm like, okay, Lord, if you want me to do this, will you provide? And it's crazy because he'll make sure that I have just enough for that evening or whatever, or somebody will come through and be like, I got you, Sheriee, whatever. Like, but he will make sure. So when it's even in that, like, he has just been so dope through this process. And it's like, right now I'm truly on this faith journey where I am believing moment by moment, but still, like you said, finding ways to be generous. And also kind of going back to tithes, the Lord has been on me the last few days or last few weeks about tithing my time.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
So I, this is the whole like side tangent. So I got a part-time job. And I know it has nothing to do with finances because the Lord has already showed me he can provide in the most miraculous, crazy ways. So this job that I have working at Target, mind you, that's like a whole other conversation. Maybe that's the next podcast. But in working, I have been working these crazy hours. Like this morning, I had to be there at 4 a.m. So yes, girl, I had to be there at 4 a.m. So I'm getting up at 2. And the Lord's like, I want you to spend the first part of your day with me, even if it's 15 minutes. Like, spend the first part of your day with me. Yeah. And the days that I do, I am so blessed. I'm like, Lord, I only have a few minutes. It's like, I don't care. Just read. And I have gotten, like, you would have thought I stayed in the Word for 2 hours. I was reading, for instance, I'm reading through the Bible. And so I'm in Deuteronomy, and it's like the very end, or actually I'm in Joshua, but I was in Deuteronomy, and the very end, Moses is like going through and telling them, okay, when you enter the promised land, when you enter the land the Lord your God has given you, when, and the Lord is like, when. The word when. Sheriee, it's coming. If. It's not if. It's when. I just went through and started highlighting and said when, and it just like it was just what I needed in that moment. But all I had was literally 5 minutes to read, and he showed me that just that quick. And he was like, see, this is what it is. So he's just like and also like I know where God's taking me in my life. He's like, if you don't do it in the first part of the day, it won't get done. So just take a few minutes, even if all you got is 15 minutes, just take a few minutes before you get going. So this morning, 3 a.m, opened it up. I had 10 minutes, read through, and I was like, okay. Mind you, I'm going to go back and do my study time and all of that. But it was just like, he was like, I just want you to tithe the first part of your day. And I'm going to make sure that you have enough day to get everything done that you need to get done.
Yeah. I just want to say your faith is so beautiful. Like, your light is so bright.
Thank you.
That
I
is
know
just-
that's what this journey has to be about, because let me tell y'all, it's not.
I know. Girl, faith goals. I'm gonna have you on here schooling me on all the different things so that I can get my light that bright. That's my goal. That's why I'm here. And so that's beautiful. But what I also hear and what you're both saying is it's generosity, but it's also being a good steward over what God's blessing you with. Whether he blesses you with a lot or he gives it to you a little bit at a time, whether it comes in the form of money dropped in your account or whether it comes in the form of clients you got to work for, being a good steward over that and turning it into what God has for you. Mm-hmm. Not if, but when.
Not if, but when.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's going to happen. His word never returns void. It's just when.
Yes.
It doesn't matter when.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So all the gospel songs playing in my head right now. So if there's someone out there like me who's trying to figure out, okay, how do faith and finances come together, right? And they're trying to get their life right. What recommendation would you have to them? What would you tell them to place in their spirit about how faith can help them get to their financial goals, whether it's generational wealth, whether it's, maybe a more short-term goal? What would that nugget be?
I'll tell you, because I know she's going to have this is her what she do. So I'm going to just be 100% like transparent, because I have, as an entrepreneur, I've always been like robbing from Peter to pay Paul. My financial life has not been like in my personal life, like has not been the best. And so it's just now, as I'm coming into this season in the last few months, where the Lord's like, okay, Sheriee, it's time to buckle down and become a good steward. That's part of being a woman of excellence, is being a good steward over your finances. So I'm like, I can make a budget like nobody's business. Like I can make a budget.
Okay.
But I've never, because of the nature of my business, I've never had like the set income coming in to where I can manage the budget, right? And so now it's like, okay, now you have this little job, this little side hustle at Target. Let's take this little bit of money that you have and we're going to budget it, and we're going to start working on establishing some good habits, some strong habits in your personal finances, like my business finances. Like, I'm going to make sure that my business finances are taken care of. Like, you give me a budget, you give me the money. Like, I am going to make sure everything's allocated and paid the way it's supposed to be paid, when I have the finances, right? But I know who's supposed to get paid, like my accounting wise, I should say. Mm-hmm. Like I have my spreadsheets, I have all of that. I know all of that. But in my personal, it's like, okay, we do want to have generational wealth, and you are going to have abundance when you enter the land, right? Mm-hmm. When. So let's start being a good steward over your personal finances now. No more taking from your personal finances to pay, because that's been the mindset, right? It's a paradigm shift, right? So now it's a paradigm shift. No more taking from your personal business to pay, or your personal life to pay your business expenses. No more mixing. We're keeping the two separate. You have an incorporation and an LLC for a reason, right? And so now that's where I am in my journey, because generationally, I can't be doing that. This is not sustainable. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to get me to where I want to go. And, yeah.
That's good advice. I'm going to forward this to all my entrepreneur friends.
Girl.
Okay.
I am still over here stuck on the win. So I think my biggest advice for entrepreneurs, just surrounding faith and finances, is just always knowing that God is going to work it out. So it's the win factor, right? Both of us have sat and talked about the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. And when you're in those low moments, those are the moments where God challenges you the most and your faith grows stronger, because he always does something that you didn't expect him to do. He made a believer out of us. We were working jobs. These were side hustles. We quit jobs. So that was a believer moment to go into full-time entrepreneurship and be able to manage it and make money. It was a believer moment to go out and get another job, to realize now, okay, I know what I'm doing. I got it, but it takes money to make money, right? So even me, I'm teaching full time. I have a job in addition to running the business. Those are all discerning moments. But when you trust and you have that faith, I think you'll know, because God has done it before. So for me, when I get in, like, there's even times now I got 7 employees now. And sometimes I look in my bank account And I'm just like, Lord, I don't know how I be paying these folks. But I go back in my times where I may start doubting myself that I'm not going to be able to do it. There's not enough money coming in. I go back to those times in 2019 when I quit my job with no other job. And when God made a way, when I started getting inquiries about teaching or just a random client that needed 8 tax years done and a large lump sum of money that helped pay my rent for that month. I go back to those moments and I remember those moments of God making a way for me. So now when I'm in these low moments, I'm always there. I'm always trusting. My faith is so strong. Like I'm not a doubter. I just know, I don't know how, I don't know the when, but I know it's coming.
Yeah.
And it always does. So my biggest advice I would have just for entrepreneurs and just talking about faith and finances is just keep faith. If he did it before, he'll do it again.
Yes.
If you got through it before, and all throughout the Bible, that's all we see. You never see someone in our Bible characters doing well and they just keep doing well, right?
Yeah.
There's a high, then it goes low, right? Yes. So that's God. That's God. God didn't create a life without struggle. So always know, and even when you grow higher, I've gotten to the 6-figure mark, what they say, more money, more problems, right? Like you say, it never looks like, I thought making 6 figures, I was gonna have money in the bank all the time, right? No, more money, more problems. 6 figures, I got more people I gotta pay. I got more overhead now. Yeah. But faith, your faith has to be strong enough to know that if he did it before, he's going to do it again, no matter what level you reach. And that's where I am in my faith. Just even being able to say I got like 7 employees, like I don't even understand. This is coming from a person that was scared to hire one person because I'm just scared I ain't going to have enough money in the bank come payday. Because you know what goes in, I'm like you, it all goes out in the business. So man, like...
Yeah, the remembering is a big deal for me. The remembrance stones, this is my second time reading the Bible through, so now I'm reading it through. I read it through before, just to read it through, but now I'm reading it through with taking my time and intentionality. But the first time I read it through, when I got to Joshua, which is ironically the exact place where I am right now, the Lord was like, at the place where they crossed the Jordan River, Joshua, the Israelites crossed the Jordan River to get into the Promised Land, to go into the Promised Land, and he was like, make the remembrance stones, 12 remembrance stones in the middle of the river, or when you get to the other side, have the priest take stones from the middle of the river and then make them remembrance stones, so you remember this time, right? And so the Lord was like, I want you to write your remembrance stone. So all the times that I came through, I want you to list 12 times where I miraculously basically came through. So I went through, and in my journal I just wrote, and so every now and then I'll go back to that, and that's what, like you said, that is what will fuel my faith. Like, if he did it before, he'll remember that time you did that. Remember that time you did that. Remember that time you did that. And so that, even now, I'm believing for, I have invoices in this moment. I have invoices that I need to pay for protection. I'm like, Lord, I need you to come through. I need you to come through in a major way. And I don't know how, but you did it before, so do it again. I know you'll do it again. I have to just trust. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But Lord, I need it right now. I'm not even going front. Yesterday, please.
Oh my gosh, I love this. And I've learned so much from our conversation on how to approach my finances and how to shape it. And I love the idea of kind of keeping a journal and just having a way to go back and look at this journey with my finances as I get more intentional and, start taking these concepts of generosity and being a good steward and really applying them heavy in my life. So I thank you ladies both for sharing with me today and being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
So if you like content like this, please be sure to like and subscribe so that we can have more conversations on faith together. Thank you.